My name is Linda Duncan. I'm currently the Member of Parliament for Edmonton Strathcona and the critic for the environment for the New Democratic Party. I have been involved in environmental issues for probably 40 years, and first came across Rob McIntosh, who founded Pembina Institute, probably sometime in the later 1970s.
Wow. So how did you first become involved in environmental sustainability issues? What was that thing that said, Linda, you've got to go get involved in this stuff?
I think that something in my gene bank caused me to become involved in the environment. I was lucky enough to spend my entire summers out at Lake Wabamun, and I think it was ingrained in me from the fine water then of Lake Wabamun. And so I went to law school actually so that I could work in environment, work with First Nations, and from the get-go that's what I worked on and what I've pursued.
So Linda, what do you think the most pressing environmental issue is today?
You know, people will be surprised by this, but I think that the most pressing environmental issue facing us today is accountability. We've got all these critical issues, whether it's a local issue, somebody worried about the impacts of a gravel pit in a natural area, or big issues like climate change or long-range transport of toxins. And the big problem that I see is the lack of accountability or action by our governments, the political will to actually act in the public interest. That is the main issue that I see, and I'm tackling it as a Member of Parliament.
That's great. So what is your connection to the Pembina Institute? I heard that 25 years ago you were one of the first people to call Rob McIntosh, who was a school teacher at the time. What happened there?
Well, Rob and I have been joined at the hip probably since the late 1970s. I'm trying to remember when the lodgepole blowout occurred, but apparently that's one of the first times that we ran into each other because, of course, that occurred out near Drayton Valley. And I was then running the Environmental Law Centre, and as a result intervened and raised legal issues. And I think from there, you know, Rob always gave a lot of technical advice, you know, whether we wanted it or not. And we, you know, fight in committee. You know, he's a feisty guy. He's red-haired. What can I say? Of course, it was always his fault. He was always on the wrong side. And so we always had great fun going at each other in the environmental community. And so he went in one direction, and I really was going in another. For him, every answer was technical, and for me, every answer was legal.
So you did found the Environmental Law Centre. And what were the problems you hoped to address by launching the Alberta Environmental Law Centre, which is one of the first of its kind anywhere?
I took the direction of pursuing the legal because, from my standpoint, it was all an issue of environmental justice. The right of people to have a voice in environmental decision making, and particularly in any kind of project that might impact on them. And so I took the legal route. I guess that's obvious since that's my background. But that was always the back of my mind. Have strong environmental laws, make the government accountable to be both enforcing those laws and also giving people to have a right of a say in the decision making. So that's where we often intersected with Pembina and I. And I was always hounding at them. You need lawyers, hire a lawyer. Why aren't you looking at the legal aspect? And I have to say, finally, recently, I'm seeing that occurring. And I think the first time I saw that happen, I just cheered in the Clean Air Strategic Alliance. I was on the board with Chris Severson Baker, and I can remember when he came and replaced, I think, Tom Marlane on the board, and he raised this issue about enforcement of law, and it went, hurrah! And I think that, you know, as Pembina grew and looked at the broader issues, and I have to say I value them incredibly. They are the best people probably in North America, if not the universe, on technical issues to do with the environment, and certainly do with energy and the impacts. And they are just unbelievable source. Anytime I'm looking up any issue, I go immediately to the Pembina website, and I refer people all the time. It is just clean, finely done, totally credible, independent information, and they're invaluable for that. But I'm also really excited about the fact that they're starting to speak out a bit more in a very intelligent way, but clearly drawing the line. And my work in Ottawa is made easy by the fact that there is Pembina, and I confer with them all the time, simply to get information to help me to make good decisions.
So, Linda, today, as you think back on your long involvement with these issues and your relationships with all these other groups, or what's the issue that you tackled that you think was the most important or the most interesting? What's the one that turned your crank the most?
Well, the issue of late that I'm most excited about is the fact that I got imposed in Alberta the only mercury control regulations for coal-fired power. I volunteered for about 7 years to get better standards in coal-fired power in Alberta, And at first I was very reticent to participate in the CASA multi-stakeholder, and at the end of it, I brag about it all the time and try to encourage it at the federal level. To me, that epitomizes the way decision-making should be done. And I also fought for, and that was my other victory, to include in these processes what we call MACs. That was something that Miles Kitagawa invented this title for it, and it means members of affected communities. So now we don't just have, industry, government, and the NGOs, we also have the MACs, and it's very important that the decisions also be community-based because those are the people directly affected. So twofold, if I just pulled those out, I guess the third one would be is the fact that I actually managed to get elected, and I'm in there and I'm a bee in their bonnet.
Pembina is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and that's why we're here speaking with you. It's a good enough excuse, I suppose. How do you feel that Pembina has made a difference? You've kind of talked actually quite glowingly about Pembina, but what do you think it is about Pembina that helps them make a difference?
Well, I think it's always been a problem for the environmental community where they've been sort of sidebarred. Well, they just, they're always called special interest group. And I think what Pembina has helped to do, and there's a number of organizations, not just Pembina, but Pembina has been very instrumental in professionalizing the environmental movement. And professionalizing in a way where it's not, I'm a professional, therefore I won't take an opinion or won't get engaged in anything. It's when I am engaged, I'm going to do it in a very high caliber way, very, very technically and scientifically sounded. And I think that's made a real difference in the input. Now, of course, we can't always guarantee that the governments in power are going to give the due credence to the organization that they deserve, but Pembina certainly does deserve that.
That's terrific. So, Linda, just to close, what do you think the most important sustainability challenge of the future is? What should we collectively be working on now?
Substantively, the big issue that I'm working on with my colleagues is energy security and sustainability. And I think that for too long, and unfortunately what some governments are looking at is simply, let's plunder as much as we can as fast as we can so that we get the money in the coffers. The bigger issue for this country, which frankly all the other governments of the world are addressing, is the issue of long-term sustainability of energy supply and security for the people of this country.
This is the one extra question I shouldn't ask because I'm going to make the interview too long, but you said energy is the most important thing. So what do you think we should be doing with energy? How do we fix it?
Well, the crazy thing is there's 1,001 solutions out there, and that's why I'm saying I think it's important that Pembina, Pembina is great. They've been doing these incredible reports, for example, in Alberta and Ontario, on showing, for example, that we can get off coal-fired power by simply relying on renewables within 20 years without having to resort to nuclear. That is incredible analysis. It's well-founded and well thought through. What we need is a bigger forum where all Canadians can come together and understand what the facts are. What's the real demand? What pushes the demand? Because essentially it's energy that is causing most of the environmental impact, whether it's climate change, whether it's pollution levels, whether it's drawing down on our water levels. For example, the tar sands in Alberta, it's attracting a lot of people to Alberta. That increases the population. They use water, they use energy. Everything that we do connects to energy. And I think it's really important that we recognize, which Pembina is really good at doing, is telling people about all the technologies that are already there, that are proven and are affordable. The challenge is we have to get our governments and the populace to understand there are other better ways of doing it that will give our children a better future.
Linda, congratulations on your current role. I know a lot of people were really, some were probably a little surprised even to see you get elected, but you earned it. You worked really hard to do it, and I think a lot of people are really excited about that, so congratulations on your most current role.
Well, thank you very much.
Have a great day.